This week on the Sega Lounge, we're talking Dreamcast. We're celebrating Sega's last console by picking a starter pack of games that you should definitely get for your system if you're planning to get a Dreamcast in 2025. Me and my guests had a great time talking about these games that we think are relevant and important still in 2025. And we had such a great time that we ended up extending our conversation a little bit longer than expected. So this means this is part 1 of 2 of our Dreamcast starter pack. Check out the first half this week and come back next week for the second half as we pick games in specific categories that we planned for this episode. Hope you enjoy. Welcome to the Sega Lounge, where we celebrate our love for all things Sega, including the games, the music, and the community. I'm your host, KC. Join me as I talk to different guests and learn more about their projects and passion for Sega. Hello and welcome to the Sega Lounge, the podcast that's all about Sega, the games, the music, the community, and everything in between. I'm KC, I'm your host, and in this episode, we're celebrating the Dreamcast. Yes, I'm here in my Game Gear shirt, celebrating the Dreamcast, as you do. But this time we're doing something a little bit different. I'm not alone. I'm here with my 2 trusty friends here from my left to my right. We have Brian Vines. Hello, Brian. Just unmute yourself and we're good. Yeah.
Holy shit. Yeah. Sorry. I don't know. I'm very tired. It's been a long one. Thanks for having us, Casey. It's fun to be here. I'll hopefully wake up a little bit more as we roll along.
For sure. Yeah. Thanks for joining us, Brian. And also, I didn't say that, but Brian from the Dreamcast Junkyard, and also from the Dreamcast Junkyard, another Dreamcast junkie, we have Lewis Cox. Hello, Lewis.
Hello. Thank you for allowing me back on the Sega Lounge to spread the propaganda of Dreamcast to all those who still need to be convinced.
Yeah, converted. Yes. On that note, on the conversion note, we're doing so. It's September. We're actually recording this very close to 9/9/99, but this is going to air somewhere between the North American, and the European anniversary of the Dreamcast. So we usually celebrate like the launch and things like that, like we did last year. But this time we thought, let's do something a little bit different. Let's try to help people who are probably just thinking, should I get a Dreamcast in 2025? If I do get a Dreamcast, or if I'm interested in getting into Dreamcast games in a less legal way, we'd say, less legitimate way, where should I start? Is there a starter pack of games that we can help people with? And so we came up, and to be quite honest, Brian actually came up with some pretty cool categories, and myself and Louis, we said, yes, that's a good idea. We came up with a list of 15 games, right? Scattered across 5 categories, which we'll explain as we go along. And these are games that we believe, like this list, we believe encapsulates the spirit of the Dreamcast and will help people new to the system to get a little bit of everything, maybe. Obviously, it's the definitive list, so there's no chance of arguing or anything. No comments saying, no, you're wrong, you're missing games. Obviously, this is the definitive list of games you should get in 2025 for the Dreamcast. No, of course, it's all subjective, so there's a little bit of bias everywhere, but it's just a push, a starting push for you to get into the Dreamcast. However, a good place to start before we actually get into that list of 15 games is, how did we get into the Dreamcast? What were the games we started with, right? And so this is not part of the 15 starter pack of 15 games. It's like our own gateway into the Dreamcast. So let's start with you, Lewis. How did you get into the Dreamcast? Which games did you start with? And I know you started a little bit later than myself and Brian, right?
Yeah, when I was younger, my friend had a Dreamcast, so that would have been, I don't know, probably. I can't remember if he got it when it came out. It could have been in '99. It could have been in 2000. It's kind of blurry, but the game I remember being wowed by was Power Stone, and particularly Power Stone 2. And I just loved that I could play it 4-player with my friends. I've told this story quite a few times, I think even on this podcast, but I was just enamored with it, and any opportunity to play that console around my friend's house, maybe even to the point where he was a bit like, oh, can we do something else? I just wanted to play the Dreamcast. He had a few other games, House of the Dead 2, he had Quake 3 Arena, which was another one we used to play multiplayer. I think that was probably about it from memory. They had loads of games, but those are the ones, obviously, because I was around, they'd play those multiplayer. And then a few years later, I was kind of reminiscing about those times and thought, what were those games? I really loved them. I'm going to see if I can, find them and play them, and introduce them to my friends, because I moved away from where I used to live, where my friend lived. And around that time, I rediscovered the Dreamcast and the game. There was a few games, Jet Set Radio, stuff like that. They kind of wowed me with how unique they are. But Shenmue was the real special game that made me think, Dreamcast is this incredibly special console, more than just this nostalgia. There's more to it. And Shenmue probably made me a Dreamcast lifer for sure.
Good picks. Yeah. I forgot that you had. Sorry, Brad. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I think I have a lot of lag, so I apologize if there's crosstalk here. Certainly the video seems to be lagging. So, but yeah, I think Shenmue is definitely one that a lot of people, especially listeners and contributors in this community, can certainly rally behind, and that was probably their gateway for a lot of Sega greatness. So.
Mm-hmm. For sure. I was just saying, I forgot that you actually experienced the Dreamcast when it came out closer to launch, because I know you went back to it later, but I forgot that you had that first experience as well. Yeah, that's great. Okay, what about you, Brian? What games did you start with?
Yeah. Well, really, for a while, for the first about 3 months following 99.99, which is when I got the system, it was Sonic Adventure. It began and ended with Sonic Adventure. That was my starter pack. And it was kind of interesting because I had learned about it, I think, in an EGM the prior year, like November '98 when it came out in Japan, or at least the Japanese Dreamcast did. And then so I was following very closely of all of the Dreamcast stuff that was going to come out and all of the announcements and any morsel that video game magazines and websites could divulge at the time leading up to 99.99. With my meager allowance, Sonic Adventure was all I could afford, along with my pre-order, although I ended up renting a ton of games. And another game I rented repeatedly was also Soul Calibur. And I think the 1-2 punch of Sonic Adventure and Soul Calibur were just an incredible start to the system. And I think for a lot of people, they're quintessential games to play, even just looking back on the console now. So I was pretty fortunate. And then I did eventually get Soul Calibur, I think that Christmas of '99, along with Sega Rally and I think NFL 2K or something. But yeah, so those two, I think, I mean, not only were they were they formative for me in getting into the Dreamcast, but I feel like they will be and have been for many others as well.
Great graphical show off as well, both of those games.
Mhm.
For this new generation. Compare it to like the Nintendo 64 or PS1 that had just come before, and it's like night and day, isn't it?
For sure. Yeah, for sure. I do. I've shared my story many times on this podcast as well. The Dreamcast was the first console that I bought with my own money. Had to save for a little bit before I was able to buy it. But my first game was Sonic Adventure as well. And it was just like you, Brian, probably for the first few months. Can't remember how long. I do think, and I'm not quite sure here, but I do believe my second game was Virtua Tennis. I'm not entirely sure, but almost sure it was Virtua Tennis, which was great because close to where I went to school, there was an arcade with Virtua Tennis, and I used to see Virtua Tennis there. And then I got it for the Dreamcast. It was like the same experience, and I was like, "Whoa, this is amazing!" And I went back to the arcade and played it against my friends, and I was really good at the game because I was practicing on my Dreamcast at home, and that was a really cool experience. Never really got. We were supposed to be able to use the VMUs as like memory cards to download like maybe a character or something and use it on the arcade on the Naomi boards, but I don't think that was a possibility. I'm not sure if I even knew about it at the time, but I never really saw any kind of slot for the VMU anywhere either. So yeah,
I saw one of those on a F355 challenge.
Okay.
In an arcade, except this was years after the Dreamcast, and so they'd like bolted over the VMU slot so you could actually use it. That was a big shame, but yeah.
Imagine just being able to like whip out your VMU and
You'd be the coolest kid in the arcade.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so all of these that we mentioned are themselves good gateways into the Dreamcast today, I would say. However, not all of them are in our final list of 15 as our starter pack. So if you're wondering which ones are missing, just keep on listening and we'll tell you what the list is all about. So we came up with 5 categories, like I said, and we're going to go one at a time. Obviously, we'll explain what they are, and then we'll talk a little bit about the games that each of us picked for each category. Some games are more well known than others, so we'll probably not spend so much time talking about them. But you guys feel free to like share whatever thoughts and memories you have of these games and why you pick them for these categories. So, category number 1. Ready? Ooh. Modern gateways. So these are games that we think would appeal to someone who mostly enjoys modern or indie games. Okay. And so we have 3 games here. Let's start with Lewis again. So Lewis, what do you think?
Yeah, so I actually kind of went a bit left field here, and I wanted to make sure that the indie scene was represented. I suppose as an extension, the homebrew as well, because obviously not everything that wasn't officially licensed by SEGA has been released commercially. But in the case of this game, it was released commercially, and that is Intrepid Izzy by Senile Team. And Senile Team are a team that have their pedigree in the Dreamcast scene dates back years. There was one of the first homebrew things that people may have encountered of the Dreamcast was the Beats of Rage engine, which got made into mods of all, Resident Evil, Beats of Rage, all these different Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Beats of Rage. It was like a beat 'em up engine that they put on the Dreamcast. And so, after so many years of making other games and other homebrew stuff, they brought out Intrepid Izzy, which was kickstarted. And what, I was speaking just then about the graphics of the Dreamcast and how it was a big, 3D powerhouse. And so obviously when you're looking at this, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see this is a 2D game, but it is a incredibly polished game despite, lacking polygons. And what's I think is good about it as well is that it's a game that isn't just, a lot of the indie games can be quite arcadey, whereas this is a game that you begin and it has, goes from the start to the finish. It is a game you can complete, and it feels like an indie game you might get on the Switch or something, and if not polished like one as well. So I really enjoyed playing this. It is kind of a Metroidvania, and it's so addictive when you play it. The starting area that's being showed off here is pretty much a left to right affair, but as you go on in the game, you collect items that allow you to go back to areas you encountered before, and you go, that's the next part of the level. Like I say, it's a very Metroidvania kind of style game, and incredibly polished, and it's as expected from, like I say, Senile team who have been in the scene for a long time and developing and supporting the Dreamcast.
Yeah, well said. Yeah. I'll probably try to find and share a little bit more of the later of another stage so people can see. I think this is still the same one, not sure. But yeah, it's a really beautiful looking game, although like you said, it's not really a 3D game, but it's really well polished, and I think Metroidvanias are all the rage these days. So,
exactly, yeah.
Do you know about Silk Song, Lewis?
If anyone listened to our recent Dream Pod, I didn't, and now I do.
Yes.
It's everywhere. But yeah, the reason I went for this is a modern gateway. Obviously, 2D games are a thing of the past, you'd think, but like I say, this looks like something you could download off an eShop on the Switch, and a lot of people love these kind of quaint 2D. Like you say, Metroidvanias, Silk Song being this massive game that is like that. So, yeah, this is on modern platforms as well, but probably best played on Dreamcast, as every game is. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah. I know, Brian, you are a big Silk Song fan, right?
Yeah, I actually, that's one of the reasons I'm sleep deprived, in addition to the start of the American football NFL season. So, yeah, 1-2 punch of just sleepless nights right now. But yeah, no, I'm really liking Silk Song so far. Right now, it seems to be more like kind of more of the same with Hollow Knight, whereas I might have been hoping for it to push a little bit at the boundaries of the genre, or at least what the original would set up. But it could still do that. I'm still pretty early on, and I am really enjoying it so far. So yeah.
And it's more of the same, but it's, if the original was good. I actually never played it. I have it downloaded on my Xbox because it's on Game Pass, but I never really started it. Maybe I should.
Yeah, What's funny is Katie is actually starting to play it right now. I can kind of hear it downstairs from here. Not Silk Song, but just the original Hollow Knight, because one of her friends also, who isn't really into video games for whatever reason, loves Hollow Knight. So she just raved about it last time we were hanging out. So between me playing Silk Song and her friend loving Hollow Knight, she was just like, all right, I'll give it a shot. But it's cool. I actually haven't played Intrepid Izzy, so I'm very eager to get. And in fact, I think I might have bought it. Actually, I might have it on the shelf. We'll see.
Yeah, it's definitely not as hard as Hollow Knight, which seems to be like the souls like of the Metroidvania genre. But it's got a decent challenge like level, but not really that difficult, I guess.
Yeah, and I think when you die, it just puts you back to where you were. It's quite forgiving, and
Yeah.
what's interesting is there's certain areas where you can actually, if you're really courageous, they might be slightly more difficult if you just go through them without the things you might need to do that make them easier, basically. But the only thing I'd say is a little bit tricky is that I think you could obviously still purchase Intrepid Izzy from various places. There it is, yeah. But unfortunately, Wave Game
you can show it off again,
Studios,
Brian, please. Sorry.
Wave Game Studios, who actually made that particular version that Brian's holding up, they've ceased trading. So they actually had a digital version. So those using things like ODEs, the GDMU or Mode, you could get a digital version for that, which obviously would, if you don't know, a lot of people have moved from having disc consoles to having like an SD card playing everything now. So that was really useful, but sadly that's not available anymore.
Yeah, well, definitely, this is definitely a good pick. Not really one that I thought of, but when you actually said, like you told us what your pick was, I thought, yeah, that makes sense. And it's really, indie games are very big these days, right? People are always looking for the next big indie thing, the next like viral indie game. Maybe Intrepid Izzy will be a good way to start when you're like getting your Dreamcast. You're booting up your Dreamcast for the first time in 2025. Yeah.
And I think it's important that people know as well, getting into it, that in this starter pack, when you look at Intrepid Izzy, there are brand new games for this console. So that's something they need to be looking out for as well as they check out the system.
For sure. Yeah. Okay, so that's one out of 15. Number 2 is Brian's pick. So Brian.
It seems like whenever I'm on Sega Lounge, at least half the time it's to talk about some sort of Yakuza game or like a Dragon or something in that series. I think there's been like 3 or 4 at this point between our podcasts. So we've been talking about those games as they come out. And so really this pick is specifically geared more towards people who are already enjoying that series these days. And that would be Rent a Hero number 1. This is a game that, came out a bit later in the Dreamcast's lifespan, only in Japan, though. Originally, it did not have an English translation. And it does have a little bit of a lineage and maybe shares a structure with Yakuza. I know Toshihiro Nagoshi was one of the advisors, at least on Sega's producer side. I don't think he was involved in the actual development. The Aspect Limited was the developer on this, but and then I think the executive producer on Sega's side was Kenji Okayasu. I believe his name is, and he was the program director in Shenmue with AM2. So there is a little bit of that direct lineage, and so structurally this game is an action adventure sort of game set in a dense city or a dense series of neighborhoods in this town. And so you are pretty much this Taro is his name, although I think you can name him whatever you want, but he accidentally gets delivered a mysterious super suit that imbues him with superpowers, and so he becomes kind of a hero for hire slash slave to the gig economy, as everyone in town now wants his help for whatever thing they need, whether it's like delivering fast food or saving people from like a collapsed mine or taking down crime syndicates. Like it just kind of escalates, and this, and you can probably tell from some of the dialogue, it's very whimsical. It makes it it's a very lighthearted game overall, and so it never really veers towards the melodrama that a Yakuza game might have, although it does share maybe some of those the quirky sensibilities, especially with its side quests, where it is structured in a similar way, where you have side quests after side quests, and a lot of them are very memorable and very charming. And it's just it's just a fantastic game. And so anyone who is looking for something that is akin to a Yakuza on the Dreamcast, I would say this is like the next best thing, or the closest thing. And also Rent a Hero number 1 is itself a follow-up, or I don't know if I would call it a remake, but it's at least a follow-up to the original Rent a Hero, which was a Yu Suzuki and AM2 game back on the Mega Drive. But yeah, it's just one of those games that's easy to get wrapped up in. And then another point of that legacy connection is that the combat system, I don't think that'll show up in this footage because this is the very beginning of the game, but there are routinely combat sequences throughout the game. They are structured very similarly to Spike Out. I don't know if they use exactly the same engine, but it feels very Spike Out-ish, which is again another Toshihiro Nagoshi connection, since that was one of his games in the arcades. So it's a fantastic, charming experience, very endearing. Can't recommend it more.
Yeah. And shout out to Derek Pescarella for the translation we're looking at right now, right? So this is because you just mentioned it
Vincent now.
Vincent.
Oh, there was
Derek.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I thought it was Derek. Okay.
Derek is, I think he's
part of the team,
perhaps. Version to make it easier to. I think he's compiled a version to make it easier to run.
Okay.
But I'm pretty sure, but it was Vincent NL and his team that did the fan translation. There's also another official translation on the original Xbox. Did not come out. Officially, that's the first way I played it, actually. But honestly,
me too.
I kind of like Vincent NL's the fan translation a bit more, I think. And to call it just a translation is not doing it justice. Like, it's a full localization in a way that really assesses kind of how RGG does with the Yakuza games. Like, really carries over a lot of humor and maybe adds its own in way, like for wordplay, and it's just very clever in ways that kind of contextualize what's happening with dialogue that is maybe more not even appropriate, but it's just more, it would connect or hit a little harder than it would if it was just trying to be a straight translation,
like a straight up translation. Yeah, for sure.
But it's fantastic.
And it's that's another great thing we have on this like starter pack. So we had indie games, so there are new games coming out on the Dreamcast in 2025, but there are also games we didn't get over here or were only exclusive to Japan and didn't get a proper like English translation or localization, and they are being localized right now as well. So that's another thing you can look into. That's another rabbit hole you can get into, right? Because there's so many games that we didn't get over here that we can now get into because we can now understand them and play them in a localized way.
It's such a shame that this never came to the West, but because I think this is such a Dreamcasty game. You know, the quirkiness of it is so of that era of Sega. So I definitely commend Brian on a good pick for sure. For sure. Yeah. And it's definitely a Sega game, right? And there's also, I think, another like pro of this game, another like audience that this will appeal to is people who are Sega fans who remember. Like you said, Brian, there was a Rent a Hero on Mega Drive, so maybe not that well known as well. But if you're into like looking at modern-ish ports or remakes or reboots or whatever of like classic series, you can get Rent a Hero number 1 and see what they did with this franchise after a few years.
I love the Yeah, I love the idea of it being modern, but like released 22 years ago.
Yeah.
And actually, it probably only came out like 12 years after the original.
Yeah. But it's like 16-bit to 128, so it's like a big difference if you think about it, right? It looks great.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
There's a
so
few
that's
funny. I was going to say there's a few funny Sega nods in it as well, like Segata Sanshiro's in it, and the console's called the Dreamcast, and just stuff like that is funny. Yeah.
and the company who makes the suit is SEGA, right? SEGA,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Not Sega. Yeah. Definitely a cool game to try as well. And I think despite maybe not being and that's something that we'll talk about again with my pick, controlling the game is not like the best 2025 experience, right? So like the controlling the character is not like that easy, but it's decent enough and approachable enough that you won't have problems. I think my pick is actually a little bit harder in that regard. We'll talk a little bit about that later, but it's a really cool game that you definitely should try. I'm actually quite bummed that I wasn't able to get to the Segata Sanshiro part. I really wanted to show this off, but it is okay. Just play it. So for most of these games that we're talking about, the footage that I recorded was like the early stages of the game, because we're wanting you to get into those games. So like this is how it starts, and then you can pick it up from there and have fun with the games. Yeah, so 2 modern gateways out of the way. Intrepid Easy, Red Hero number 1. My pick was Headhunter. And this is for the Metal Gear Solid fanatics of this world, and the single player third person shooters and like story heavy games. I believe Headhunter has a little bit of everything of what I just described, and it even has, like, if you're a big fan of Metal Gear Solid, you have some great cutscenes as well. A little bit more tongue-in-cheek, if you will. This is like a dystopian future with it's a very interesting story, I would say, with so there's like a stock market for criminals, and depending on how many crimes they commit, their value goes up or down. And then there are headhunters, like people who are trained and licensed to catch these criminals and get the rewards and stuff. Certain things are not allowed, like permitted by law anymore. There are no like traditional weapons being used. Now there are electrical or electric neural projectiles being shot out of the weapons, and so you can like kill someone without damaging their organs, so you can harvest them, which is a way of punishing people and making money as well. So it's a really dark future as well in that regard. But what kind of game is it? It's like a third-person shooter adventure game, if you will. You wake up not remembering anything about your life. The protagonist loses their memory, and they were supposed to be like the top headhunter, and you have to basically get retrained and relicensed, and that's the way the game teaches you like new skills and new moves, and it's like sort of an ongoing tutorial as well as you complete certain like missions to get a more advanced license and get access to missions that pay more, and as you unravel a mystery of a certain assassination and why you actually lost your memories in the first place. Something that I think is very important to mention as well is the soundtrack. The whole setting, I think, but the soundtrack, it's a Richard Jacques joint. So, and not really in the Sonic R Metropolis Street Racing vein, but more of like what he actually won awards for. Like he did some 007 soundtracks and stuff, and this is a very cool like orchestral soundtrack. Really sets the tone. Recorded, I believe, at Abbey Road Studios, if I'm not mistaken. So like the whole setting of this is just screams quality, and I think it's a good way for people who are into this sort of game, and I believe Metal Gear Solid stealth action games, they're still something that many people look to find in modern games. This is like maybe the best version of that you can have on the Dreamcast, I would say. Have you guys played this? Yeah.
I always heard comparisons to GTA. I've still yet to play Headhunter, which is a travesty, I know. But I always heard comparisons to GTA as well, because there's the sections where you're moving around on motorbike, but I'm not entirely sure they control like Grand Theft Auto. If I played it, I would know. But
it's more of just the format, because it is impressive in that they pretty much render the city right there. Like you can drive anywhere you want between missions, which are very linear. But one of the problems is that like there's just nothing going on. There's no side quests. There's nothing to interact with. I think you can get hit by cars, maybe. I mean, there's just not much happening. There's no other NPCs. Like it is an empty space, fully empty
get
space.
Hit by
that
cars.
you have to drive around. Yeah.
And it's kind of hard to control the bike.
Yeah.
It actually feels realistic somehow. Because I can't really explain it. I was playing this to record the footage. I also like the adverts that you get in between loading sections. But I can't explain how, but it feels like it's kind of realistic, because you can't just like hit the gas and just move left and right. The more you speed up, the less control you get over like the bike and the direction. Like the handling gets worse as you speed up, which is interesting because that's what's supposed to happen in real life, I guess. So, but as a video game experience, it can be a little bit clunky, to be honest. But it's cool. It's cool. I think it's not perfect, and it's definitely a game of the naughties, but definitely something that I enjoyed playing. And I actually see you can get hit by the cars, but it doesn't really matter, as you can see there, Brian. So yeah, really no consequence whatsoever. But it's a game that as I was recording this, I thought, I need to play this again. It's like bringing back some memories. I really need to go back to it. And what else do you want? It's like you can shoot people, you can drive a bike.
It's also really cheap to pick up, considering the fact that, and this is the weird part that I always have to kind of wrap my head around, it only ever came out in Europe, not Japan, not America, just Europe. And you'd think for an exclusive that gets talked about quite frequently, in Sega communities in regards to like Dreamcast games, you'd think maybe because of its exclusivity, the price would be a little bit higher, but you can get it for £15 in the UK. Maybe a little bit more if you're trying to import it to the States. There you go. There it is.
There we go. Yeah. There we go. Yeah.
So yeah, pretty cool game to get if you're on a budget.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's like, why not? Just I think for the story itself as well is worth picking it up if you're into like single player story games. That's an interesting one as well.
Sorry, I forgot that I actually had a disc copy of it until you were talking about how cheap it was. I'm like, oh, if it was that cheap, I must have bought it at some point.
Okay, so that's modern gateways. Our first category out of the way. moving on to category number 2, exclusives. So this is games that are still fully exclusive and literally can't be played on any other platform, at least legally. Okay. And I think we're going to go with the same order again, because I like this order. It's like there's some variety here as well. So, Lewis, what's your pick?
Okay, yeah, my pick is D2.
Certainly a fluffy, nice, warm, feel-good game.
Well, not considering the game setting, but yeah, it's D2. It was a game that released in America and Japan, didn't come to Europe, and it's created by a gentleman called Kenji Eno. Rest in peace to Kenji Eno. He sadly passed away. So I think it's about 10 years ago now. I think, but this was his last kind of big game. You know, after this, he kind of left the industry and went on to do some smaller, sort of more indie like app games. And so yeah, if you want to get into his very unique games, you know, this is part of a series of 3. You've got D, Enemy Zero, and both that you can get on the Saturn, and then you've got this on the Dreamcast D2. And every game in this trilogy is just so different. D2 is an FMV game. Enemy Zero has a little bit of that, but it's also got this kind of 3D first person shooting kind of bits that are really difficult and require you to kind of listen to sound to find invisible enemies. And then you've got this, and I personally think this is his best game. And because I think that the reason I'd recommend this is just because, one, survival horror games are all the rage. I find, like, you know, if you're looking at libraries of games like on the PlayStation 2 or even on the Dreamcast, the survival horror games always seem to hold value. I guess online there's a lot of YouTubers who cover these games. And I personally think this has aged a lot better than some of the survival horror games of old. I think it controls well. I think that despite having lots of different ideas, so there's like kind of first person shooter segments, there's like, you know, third person exploring, and then when you're inside there's these kind of almost like the old FMV on sections where you're exploring inside. But yeah, all of it I think plays brilliantly still. There's no point in this game when I originally played it where I was thinking, this game you know, sucks, like this is really irritating me. And yeah, and I think just to get a glimpse into Kenji Eno's vision, he's very much a maverick game developer, like, you know, Kojima, or, you know, there's plenty of you know, kind of visionary game developers like that, and he was definitely one of them. And yeah, I would definitely recommend playing this. And yeah, what else would I say about it? Yeah, there's also a load of like very millennium centric information in the game, and there's like a glossary of like stuff to do with science and the world, and yeah, it is a very cool game.
Yeah, for sure. And I think you hit the nail on the head when you said, like, survival horror games are always big on any system. Mm-hmm. So if you're looking for an exclusive one, this could be it. I'm not really big into that genre, but I had never played this before recording this little bit of footage here. But it intrigued me, to be honest. As I'm getting older, maybe I'm thinking I should try some of these like horror games that everyone raves about. This looks like it's interesting. It's got an interesting story. Like there's some sort of mystery here that I'm actually, as I played, and I played just a little bit, but there's a section next to this. You go into a cabin, and then something happens. She drops like a picture, like a frame, and there's a song that starts playing, and you're like, what's happening? What kind of like supernatural thing is happening in the story? What are these creatures? So I definitely want to know more about this. I should play this as well.
I would say that compared to like the kind of Resident Evil sort of style survival horror, this is I mean, I think it's been a while since I last played this, and I really need to give it a replay. But as far as I remember, that there is kind of scarcity of items, healing items, but really, it's a bit more kind of like over the top and whimsical than perhaps your very serious survival horror game. I say that I said Resident Evil, like they're not whimsical with the voice acting and stuff, but I think you know what I mean. Like it's a bit different, and the gameplay isn't that kind of like tank control, inventory management stuff. It's like I say, as first person sections, and definitely one I'd recommend.
Okay, yeah. Brian, any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, if you haven't played it before, Casey, it's we're coming up on October in a few weeks, so it's a perfect time of year to get into the Halloween spirit. Yeah, I do enjoy this game as well. I don't think I finished it, but I do remember putting quite a bit of time. I think I got to like the 4th disc, because it's actually a 4-disc game. I'm not sure how much of that is cinematics or other. Or maybe it was 3rd disc, because it's like the 4th disc you have to put in first, and that has like the initial intro sequence. That
there's
a prelude to when you're in Canada, and then disc 1 starts for where you're at right now. And I do love some of the esoteric mechanics that Warp had included in here. I mean, the hunting alone is fantastic, and it really does lean into maybe some sort of modern sensibilities for weird mechanics that, or especially survival mechanics that or maybe superfluous is not the right word, but it is how you get meat, and you can use it for healing items and stuff. So it serves a function.
There's a magical griller.
And it cleans the meat for you as well.
Exactly. Amazing.
Yeah. And it's just funny because it's just so disjointed. It's just so separate from the core loop of the rest of the game that it's like, why not? Might as well just spend some time hunting hares. They do own that,
right? So look,
in
another game, it would be like, if you want to cook and prepare the meat here, this is where you do it. But no, this is a very handy tool because it like cleans up the meat and like grills it and prepares it for you. Wow, handy.
Yeah.
Just own
more
it.
reasons.
Just remember, there's also like a level up mechanic, which is obviously quite different to survival horror games. So there's just all these bits that he's pulled from different. Again, it's one of these kind of games that we'll probably talk about Shenmue some point later, but it's another game where it's like the combination of these different mechanics really kind of make you think. What is a game? It's one of these ones where. It breaks through a lot of rules, and I think it's definitely something that I want more people to talk about this game, and that's another reason why I picked it. So, yeah.
Okay, yeah, definitely. Thanks for recommending this one as well, Lewis. Very good. Okay, yeah. So that's our first exclusive. But Brian, you have another one. That's very similar.
Yeah, you probably couldn't have picked a more diametrically opposing game, at least thematically. But it is also an action game, so I guess there's that. But Toy Commander. That's the one, and it's I don't know where to begin with this, but it's a vehicular action game first and foremost, and it's structured around a series of at least a couple of dozen missions, probably more, and you through each mission you control a variety of various I don't know, airplanes, helicopters,
Yeah.
race cars, tanks. It's not all shooting, although combat and shooting is a big part of it. But there's a lot of rescue missions and a lot of, some escort stuff. Not too much to be too infuriating. But yeah, like this one, you have to pick up the sugar cubes and put them in with the helicopter and put them in the coffee. It's just or the tea or whatever they're drinking. So it's a lot of mix of mundanity, but also just exaggerated. I don't know, because it's all set within this kid's imagination as he plays in a large house with ostensibly zero parental oversight at all. There's no supervision here. In the second mission, after the one that you're showing, or maybe it's the third one, he ends up flooding the entire kitchen and living room.
Yeah.
And so it's just a giant mass of water.
Mm-hmm.
And where there's boats now, and so you have to take out the boats and protect other boats. So it's just like, I don't know how he gets away with this. It seems a little, in being grounded in reality, it's funny how games just can seem more absurd with stuff like that. But it's a lot of fun. And to me, I think it embodies, well, it's a bit of a Swiss Army knife of different game concepts and mechanics. So it does have something that I think appeals to everybody. But for me, more broadly, it kind of embodies the spirit of the Dreamcasts, both in its vibrancy, in its charm, and in its jankiness. I think it just kind of hits all those notes, and it's fully exclusive to the console still. So it is the only way you can really legally play it. But and it also plays great on modern hardware. It's a fantastic game, and I think there's a lot there, and I would highly recommend it to any newcomers with a Dreamcast who are looking for some tangible experiences to sink their teeth into.
Yeah, sure. I never completed this game back in the day. I do remember there was one of those official Dreamcast magazine demo discs, and it had I don't know, 1 or 2 levels of this. And I remember this was one of the most played demos for me. I played it over and over again. But I don't really remember. I don't think I ever completed this.
Well, what's also wild is that there were several demos actually over the course of the first year this was out. So No Cliche, which is the French team that had developed this, and then it was published by Sega. They came out with a Christmas themed demo that took a completely different level from later in the game in the living room area, and you had to be or control a jetpack Santa Claus, and your whole goal was to collect presents from around the area and deliver them under the tree. Meanwhile, there were other enemies about that you had to take out first with the Jeep and the airplane, so you had to kind of strategize the order that you were doing all of those things in, and to keep the Santa from getting shot down. and I think it's also a game that near and dear to my heart. It rewards you for curiosity, so you can shoot light bulbs or turn on and off light switches by shooting the light switch or knocking things over. There's the physics aren't super impressive by any means, but you can, there's a lot of things to mess with outside of the core loop of the missions that give it a lot of replayability in some sense, because you can just go and explore and mess with stuff, and it's just a very joyful game. And that's definitely any Dreamcast collection could use that joy. There
was also a summer demo as well.
Oh,
that's right, the beach.
Oh, I didn't know that. I remember the Christmas one, not the summer one.
Yeah, another level where the kid floods the living room. It's just out of control.
There's a theme of destroying property. Yeah. I remember I was actually trying to find the name of the person. I actually got in touch with one of the developers, someone from the developer team, for an interview, and we were actually talked a few times, but sadly, nothing came out of that. Really, I was trying to find that email, but to give this person a shout out. But yeah, if you're watching this, hit me up. Let's do that interview. Frederic Reynal, I believe, in French.
He's done a lot of games, hasn't he?
Yeah, I got him through Jorg Tito. But sadly we weren't able to schedule anything. But this is a game that intrigues me. Having not completed it, having not played through the whole game, I think it, like you said, Brian, you said it perfectly. It really encapsulates the spirit of the Dreamcast, the jankiness, the color, the playfulness as well, right? Because if you think about this, these are just toys, but you can do all of these things, and you like all of these like genres of like combat and like missions and stuff. This variety. So, but it actually brings out the creativity behind Dreamcast games in a very cool way. So definitely something that I think people should experience. Yeah.
I can only imagine this would have been obviously I wasn't there when this came out to experience it fresh, but I imagine it would have been a bit of a hit with, like, you know, Toy Story was big, and this is almost like, I know there were Toy Story games, but this is kind of like that concept, isn't it? It's like the toys come into life, and I know obviously there's the idea is a little kid is controlling them, but I love that, you know, the idea of like the little military vehicles like doing stuff, but with the house as like their landscape, you know, like the kitchen counters and stuff like that. So
yeah, for sure. Excellent. So that's it. That's our fifth game, Toy Commander. And now for something, I wouldn't say completely different. Still in the vehicle genre, vehicle controlling genre. But this is one that I'm not going to spend too much time talking about this because I've said a lot about this game in the past. Metropolis Street Racer is still an exclusive. And this one appeals, I believe, to the Forza Motorsport, Gran Turismo fans out there who want, like, I wouldn't call this a simulation, a racing or driving simulator, because I think there's some arcade spirit still here. It's like closer probably to a simulation, but there are some arcadey elements here that make this a much better experience for a person like me who is not really that big into like very punishing, very actually accurate driving games. That said, this is quite accurate as well. There's the kudos system. I don't know if I said the name of the game. It's Metropolis Street Racer, by the way, for people not watching the video version. For listeners, it's Metropolis Street Racer. So MSR has the kudos system, which I remember not being very familiar with the genre. I thought, oh, this is a very cool way of like forcing you to play in a stylish way, like drive stylishly. If you don't hit things, if you like drift, if you are very cool in your driving, you can get bonus points, and that's how you unlock cars. That's how you unlock like further challenges. Two things that I really, really loved about this: the three very detailed cities of London, Tokyo, and San Francisco. You can drive in. Very cool. They open up as you progress, and you get like longer and longer tracks in those cities. And the in-game radio stations were like amazing for me at the time. Again, Richard Jakes, but this time maybe closer to like a mix between all of the things he did, like Sonic R, maybe some country, some rap, hip hop, lots of different drum and bass, lots of different radio stations, and interesting adverts as well. So if you actually, and I was playing this yesterday, trying to like record this footage, and Tokyo has Japanese like radio presenters. San Francisco has an American one. London has a British one, and British ads on the radio. So that's cool. They give shout outs to people. Oh, that's it's like someone's 40th birthday. Have a good one and stuff. So all of that world building is also very, very cool. But definitely the core experience is like driving, and it really feels really good to drive these cars and unlocking them and just looking at the details of the cities you're driving in. That's really, really cool. So this one, another game that I think aged quite well, to be honest. Obviously, graphically, it's not really that groundbreaking when you compare it to modern day games, but something that I think still holds up quite well. Any thoughts about MSR, guys?
I mean, yeah, I think you did a good job summarizing it. I love it as well. It was kind of a nice precursor to the Project Gotham Racing series, which would be pretty some of the best Xbox and 360 games I think that ever came out, and then just disappeared into the ether as maybe arcade style, or like this hybrid of like arcade / pseudo realism. Although I would probably push back a bit and say there isn't really much simulation in this, but I think that kind of fell out of favor a little bit as time went on, as the aughts went on, and although for people who liked like a Need for Speed or those kinds of games, I think this does strike some of that balance a little bit. And it's just a fun game. It feels really good to play. I love the handling. It's not realistic, but it's very, it just feels very smooth and rewarding, especially when you like cut corners in a way that without breaking, that you're just like, wow, that felt fantastic. And then to the soundtrack, I mean, this, for those who missed or who loved Sonic R, like the Richard Jakes did a lot of different genres on this, as you mentioned, but if you're looking for a reunion with his work with TJ Davis, with some of the pop songs, at the vocal heavy ones, there's some more on this, and they're actually very good. So that's another reason I love it too. But yeah, for sure. I highly recommend it as well. Good pick.
Yeah, Lewis, any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I'm not like massive into driving or racing games, but I did play this. It's been a while since I played it. It would have been it was one of the first games I actually got when I got my Dreamcast, because there was an abundance of sealed copies online for very cheap. And yeah, I played it. I enjoyed it. It looked I think it looks good. Like you say, it's not when you compare it to modern games, of course, but I think at the time it looked very impressive. And I also must note that I really want the number plate that you've put on the car in the footage. I might see if they have that for sale in real life. But yeah,
for listeners, it's DCJY, so and not to the Dreamcast Junkyard. I thought it was fitting.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, and I love some of the music in this game. Is like there's kind of like this sort of imitation Oasis track, which I think is really funny. Just hearing this kind of, it's almost like knockoff kind of. Obviously they didn't have the actual Oasis, but they've got this kind of amalgamation of it, like the kind of Britpop kind of style. Another thing to note is anyone listening to this, who's starting the Dreamcast. If you're planning to collect the discs of these games, this one in particular is of note, as the I believe that it's just the PAL version. I don't think the American version has this issue, but there was a few different releases of it due to bugs and glitches that were fixed. And so when you're looking for it, if you find a copy in the wild, check that the disc ends with SB, because that is the most fixed version. So one to look out for.
There you go. Does it end in SB, Brian?
Yeah, if you look on the disc, the ring code.
Of course.
Maybe lower your mic while you're at it so we can hear you.
Yeah, sorry, I just took it off briefly. Unfortunately, the hinge, of course, is broken on this case. Where am I looking?
Of course,
on the if you hold it upside down, it's if you hold the disc upside down, flip it.
Okay,
flip it.
I think you have to flip it, or it's either it might be in the middle actually. Yeah.
I
other
think
side.
On the other side. Yeah, that's it.
So
I see. So I see MK 51022. What am I looking for? This one was made in Holland.
It's the last two letters.
SB. I do see an SB. Yeah,
so that's
SB.
that's the most fixed version of it. But
all right.
Unfortunately, there was a guy in our Discord who's like, a younger guy just getting into Dreamcast. And he's like, I've got Metropolis Street Racer. And I was like, oh, which version did you get? And he's got like the first one with all the bugs. I was like, oh no, I'm so sorry. He's like, oh no. He's really gutted. But
Yeah.
That's just, back in the day, obviously you had to send it, get a copy from Sega, didn't you? You couldn't just get it downloaded as an update, sadly.
No patches. Yeah.
No.
Okay. Yeah, but definitely, and another reason I thought of this is to like bring some variety to the list. So, and I think we're getting there with the variety because we have like very different kinds of games so far. We're covering a lot of different bases here with our list.
Yeah. Well, and it's good that you included it because the Dreamcast, in my opinion, is like racing games are one of the strongest genres for it. Obviously fighting games as well. But I'm glad we had some representation in the official list just because I'm very surprised that I didn't have one in one of my 5 picks because that's my favorite genre. So it is what it is. Thanks.
Yeah,
for,
not really mine, but I do really love MSR. Yeah, some very, very cool memories of playing this back in the day. Yeah. Okay, yeah. So next up, we've got modern gateways, exclusives, and next up we have category number 3, showpiece. So these are games that show off the cool innovations, which can be features, peripherals, design styles, etc., of the Dreamcast. So I thought of this category as like games that like scream, "This is Dreamcast," right? And so maybe should we mix things up a bit and start with Brian's pick this time?
Sure, I'll try to keep it very brief since we've taken some time on the last few picks. But I think one game that embodies kind of the Sega's willingness to embrace weird experiences on its system, but like in a way that it's putting them to the forefront of the system's identity, is Seaman. This is a game that was developed by Vivarium and published by Sega, and it just kind of goes to show how willing Sega was to try to differentiate itself through the sheer just oddity of what its development talent wanted to contribute. This is a game that to my understanding, Sega was fairly hands-off and just letting Vivarium make something like this with a manfish that you talk to, and that was kind of the primary innovation, is that it came bundled with a microphone that plugged into the controller, and you would literally raise this fish and start having conversations. He would ask you questions, sometimes a bit weird, like invasive questions. He'd ask for like your birthday and all a little bit of, I'd say like if this game came out today, might be a bit off-putting, but because the technology is fairly rudimentary, pretty sure it's not getting filed in a database somewhere. It just ends up being charming, even though it is very creepy as well, as you have.
Vivarium has all of your data, your personal data. They're making millions out of it. They've been making millions for 20 years now.
But yeah, it's it's occasionally a bit disturbing, but ultimately, and not even really a game that I enjoy playing that much, but certainly one that I would recommend everybody try at least once. I think it's just worth it for the idiosyncratic just weirdness of it all, is kind of a yep, there we go. God, I mean, you just let them go for a while, and something like this is going to happen.
Is he wearing a seaman? No, is it? Oh, that's two of them, right? No,
it was two.
Was he wearing something like a seaman hat or something? I don't know.
I don't know.
That they might have been, friendly. That's all I'll say.
Yeah.
Could be.
Well, in a all right. But yeah, anyway, it's good. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
The actual microphone stuff is pretty good for the time. I don't know if you've ever seen the clips online of the Nintendo 64 Hey You Pikachu game and how bad it is to actually speak to on that game, and it's just a bit rubbish, whereas this is the actual technology where you're talking to him is pretty good, and his responses are hysterical. I never got this when I played it. To be fair, you have to have quite a lot of patience to play this game if you want to play it properly. It's you have to, because it uses the system clock, so unless you're constantly going into the the BIOS of the console and changing the clock, you've got to wait. And obviously I've probably got a VMU somewhere where my Seaman is dead because I haven't booted it up for a long time. But I remember this gameplay clip I saw when I was seeing what is this game, and I remember these guys, I think they said into the mic, "You suck," and he just responds, "So does your mother," like that. I love how just kind of quirky and the voice of Seaman is brilliant. I love that they gave it this very dry, kind of cutting kind of tone where he sounds like he's kind of lecturing you and stuff. In fact, there's this one of the funniest adverts from the Dreamcast era is I think it's a Japanese one where a little kid goes into the room and his dad is playing. The kid's dad's playing Seaman, and he's just getting life advice off Seaman. It's Daddy, what are you doing? He's just there with the glow of the TV, and it's all dark. But and he becomes a frog with a face as well.
Amphibian mode evolution.
There you go. Very disturbing face, though. Very disturbing face.
Yeah,
and the narrator is Leonard Nimoy as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just love this as a game that it's both a how the hell did they do that game, because it's I think the microphone technology for the time was very, very impressive, but it's also a why the hell did they do that type of game,
and why did it even come out in the States, and why was it the second best-selling game in the whole of Japan?
No, that kind of makes sense to me. That kind of makes sense to me. This is a very Japanese experience, I would say. Yeah.
Well, and with this game,
very
Vivarium,
big into pet simulators and stuff. So,
Vivarium and Sega. I mean, one of the reasons that this got the exposure it did is, this was a game that they were hoping would appeal to people outside of who are not already, Sega fans or video game fans, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think to that end, it did succeed in garnering interest of people who were not necessarily going to buy Sonic Adventure or, Shenmue, but Seaman? Yeah, sure. Why not? It's an upgrade from my Tamagotchi or Digimon, right? So,
Why not? Yeah, exactly. I think that like sums up things. Why not? You were asking why the hell did they do this? Why the hell not? That's my answer. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Seaman. Yeah, don't panic, Seaman. As it shows on the box. Yeah.
Caution, Seaman.
Caution. No, that's it. Well, I think "Don't Panic" is the Japanese one.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I think that's it. Caution.
There's also a Seaman 2 on PS2 where he is a bird with a human face. So, yeah, that's something that also exists.
I was
Keep
also
calm, Seaman.
keep going. Exactly. That's the British version. I think there was. So I was actually looking this up to confirm if my memory was correct or not. But yeah, they did a Christmas version, right? A little bit like Christmas Nights. There was Christmas Seaman in Japan.
Yes, where you sent love letters to your, someone. And it was only available for like a week. It is like that's so Sega, isn't it? Just this random piece of like, disposable software that just, There's a great video on that actually by a guy called Jimmy Happer. So I recommend checking that video out because he goes into detail about like all the kind of weird pieces of software that involved Seaman.
Mm-hmm. Merry Christmas, Seaman. And you also had this one, which was after December 27th. You had Welcome to 2000, Seaman. So why not? Why not? Yeah.
Millennium Seaman. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so that's our first pick for showpieces. Yeah. Should I go next? Just to
go for it.
Mix things up. I'm not gonna talk too much about this. I really had to, and it truly is my pick as the game. It's. I think it's obvious. I didn't want to go so obvious, but I really had to go with Shenmue. Right? Shenmue is. For me, synonymous with Dreamcast for sure, along with other games that we've talked about before. We'll talk about still, but doesn't really get more Dreamcast and like. If I had to pick one game to show, like the power of Dreamcast and what they were doing with the system, that was different from anything else. Up till that point, this would be it. The initial cutscene alone was like amazing. The cinematic was amazing and hooked you with the story. So obviously, this is it's infamous for its big budget and how that also was probably the downfall of this series as well, for being such an expensive game or two games to make. But this was really something that we hadn't seen before. Like obviously the second one is probably, most people would probably say, the better game. It's like more open world. It's like a bigger world, like more neighborhoods or like bigger town. You go into different places. There's the final disc in the second game is just very different and amazing as well. A change of pace. But I'm a sucker for the first game and like the very self-contained setting of Dobuita, and how you seem to live. Yeah, like you live in that place. You feel like it's like a living, breathing town, and you're part of it. You know everyone's routines. And you're like, the story is part of it as well, and that opens up and expands obviously in the second game. But it starts with the murder of your father. You want to find out why that happened. You want to avenge your father, but there's so much more to it than that. And obviously, while you're set on the way of revenge, on the path of revenge. You have to collect capsule toys and drive forklifts and name kittens.
Play Hang
That's
On.
what you do. And play Hang On, yes. Even that, you had a Sega Saturn in 1986. In your living room. You had arcade games in the arcade, so what's not to love about this game? Just play Shenmue. Just play Shenmue. I would say this is also a good entry point. And so if I were to pick one, apart from liking the first one a little bit more than the second, I think this is also the right way to get into the series. Just if you're actually listening to this and thinking of getting Shenmue in 2025, I don't know if the Dreamcast version is the best way to do it. Maybe you should. I think we actually talked about this when we were planning for the episode. I think, Brian, you brought this up. One could argue that you should maybe get Shenmue 1 and 2 HD. It has like on modern systems. But go into this with an open mind and remembering that this is a 25-year-old game that it is a little bit more slow-paced than you're probably used to. But if you stick with it, you'll be rewarded, I would say. Yeah. And that's all I'm saying about this. I've been talking for too long already. I said I wouldn't say much, but yeah.
The risk with Shenmue is if you start talking about it, we'll be here for like 3 hours. So, I echo what you're saying. It's I think as well. It's a game that it's just the perfect Dreamcast game because it is like the Dreamcast. It's misunderstood. It tries, it's the definitive game in that regard as far as trying something different. Again, making you question what is a game. There's things in here that people found boring. It's like, why do you have to wait a day to go see the dude at the tattoo parlor? I don't know, but Yu Suzuki wanted you to feel immersed in that world and make a real world that you were immersed in. I kind of like. It's funny that you were saying about it being available, more accessible on other consoles, like modern systems. And I kind of miss the fact that when I got this game and played it for the first time, it was an exclusive. The first one, actually, the second one was not because it came out on the Xbox.
On the Xbox, yeah.
I kind of liked that this was a big reason to purchase a Dreamcast. I like the idea that it was like kind of a system seller all those years after the console's demise, because it really is like the game you need on the Dreamcast. And
like the killer app, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And it's truly like a fantastic game, but again, one that you need to be patient with and understand that it had different things that it wanted to do. It's not just and it's not like an arcade game. It is a very kind of slow burner for sure.
It's free, full reactive eyes entertainment.
It's pretty cheap on Dreamcast, just not free, but pretty cheap.
Yeah.
I mean, it's also cheap on Steam, and but here's the thing. I don't know. I have too many thoughts swimming around. I'm not going to get to most of them, but I do think that if the goal is to try to show Sega how much this game continues to mean to us, buying as many digital and maybe physical PS4 copies if you can find them, Xbox 360 or Xbox One copies, brand new or digitally, for yourself, for your friends. I think that's mainly the way that you
priority,
the way that you can kind of maybe try to get this game registered or noticed. I mean, not that Sega's forgotten about it. I mean, there's probably a lot of very specific reasons why they are not necessarily is forthright about not acknowledging it, because obviously every now and then something will happen, like the anime series, and and Yu Suzuki. It's not that he wouldn't want to make a new one, but this is one of the most resource intensive games of all time, and so when number 3 came out and was kind of the compromise of that original ambition and scope that would had to operate on a more indie budget, we kind of saw how that experience might have not quite been the same. Like, the magic of those original 2 games, and especially the first one for me, just is not something that's going to be easily recaptured unless there is a full, like, concerted backing of resources to make a large game out of this, and I just don't really necessarily see a path to that currently. But it is very encouraging. I think, like, as we didn't you do an episode recently with the recent announcement of the enhanced version of 3? So it's like, between Sega and EaseNet. I mean, EaseNet obviously, and I don't know who's
and
is
In
Steve
Games
Silver
now
still the publisher.
Yeah, In Games.
Who's Oh, In Games, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, they got the rights. They acquired the publishing rights for this, so that's why we're getting the enhanced edition of the game.
Yeah,
which could be a way for people to support that, and maybe we can get something else.
Buy it twice. Double dip. Even if you didn't like Shenmue 3, just buy it again. That's what I'll do.
For sure.
Sorry, I didn't like Shenmue 3, but I will buy it again. Yeah, and just for me, just overall, like, it's not the whole series isn't necessarily a game it's not really something I play necessarily for the narrative or the story or the dialogue or the characters. It really is just the ability to inhabit a space in a way that just no other video game really does in the same way. It is kind of a virtual, I don't know, a virtual escape or tourism of some sort. I mean, that's it. And so there's so few games that operate on that level. It's like, I am fine just engaging with the game in that way, because that's why I think it does best. That's why I love most about it. And so, yeah, anyone looking for kind of some vibes to just wallow in a fleshed out, dense environment that just feels like a place to hang out. It's a very hangout kind of game, and so I would just recommend it on the grounds of that alone. It's also the only video game I think I ever forgot that I was playing a video game back when it came out. I bought it as a teenager, and yeah, so it definitely left its imprint for sure.
Yeah, definitely a great escapist game. If you're feeling blue, play Shenmue. That should be the tagline.
Love it. Inen should hire you. Yeah, holy crap.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Okay, that's it. So let's move on. We're like halfway there, but we need to move on. We have 2 more categories, but before that, we have our final showpiece. Lewis, what's yours?
So I picked Crazy Taxi because, it's not like as the most graphically intensive game on the system. It does look very cool. I think it still looks good, because it's kind of stylized anyway. So, the graphics haven't really aged that poorly, in my opinion. I think it lends itself to the style of the game. But yeah, this is a showcase, I'd say, in the sense of, like, this is an arcade port. This looked like how it does in the arcade, and here it is on your lovely Dreamcast console. And it is cool. It has great music. It is absolutely crazy, as the name suggests. You can see the physics in action there on the video. But yeah, like,
also the lack of skill.
Well, you're probably better than me. But yeah, like, if anyone's not played this, it is basically a game where you roam around in a taxi and pick people up and you take them to their destination. I would say that probably this is the best version to get of it. I probably say that the unless you're like a hardcore gamer and you want to do all like the special moves and stuff in it, the version on phone is actually surprisingly impressive, and it has all the songs intact. But I kind of like the original Dreamcast version because of all the ridiculous promotional stuff, like the Pizza Hut and the Levi's store, and all of the
Tower
KFC,
Records, KFC, yeah.
Tower Records, yeah. It is just so much fun, and I've said this before. It doesn't, in my opinion, like as what I know they're doing like a new Crazy Taxi game. It had a second game, it had a third game, but I think this game is just timeless. I don't think it needs to be added to. I don't think it needs to be remade, or I think you just give it a bit of a HD facelift, and it is just timeless. Like you put it on, you play it for however long you play it for. It is great fun, and it still looks pretty good. I think of all pretty much all of the games on Dreamcast, this is one that's just, like I say, timeless.
Yeah, for sure. It's a good point that you made there, in terms of people are now probably familiar with the announcement of like those 5 games, the Power Surge trailer they showed at the Game Awards in 2023. So if you're wondering what the original Crazy Taxi was like before we actually get a new one, this is a good way to experience it, like you were supposed to on the Dreamcast. I too agree that they should leave this intact, like just maybe update the graphics or something, or not even that. Like it's perfect. Let's leave it as is. But who knows? Apparently there will be like police cars and stuff. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. I suppose that's not too bad. Like, yeah.
I mean, it's more realistic. I guess one thing it's like, for me, the original Crazy Taxi just it already exists, and so like I can go play that anytime. And so like with the prospect of the new one, if it does the battle royale thing or however it's structured, honestly, just I think we talked about this before with Jet Set Radio.
Yeah.
It's just like let them do whatever they're gonna do with a new iteration of that in 2025. I mean, it would be great if the original was more readily available with the original soundtrack. I mean, I can still play it on my Series X, like that's fun, but it's not like they're actively re-releasing it. So it would be nice to have the original alongside whatever the next iteration of it is, and I'd be happy.
Yeah, when you start playing this game, you need to hear the Offspring going, yeah. That is
exactly.
Like so
exactly.
You can't
timeless.
unhear it after you experience it like that. It's impossible. I was actually I went on Lime Reversed stream a couple of weeks back, and he was actually playing Crazy Taxi for the first time on Steam, and I was like, "What's this?" Because the soundtrack is not what I was expecting, and it was really, really weird. And it's not a bad soundtrack either. It's good for what it is.
It's inoffensive.
Yeah, but it's not really the original. So, really weird. Yeah, Crazy Taxi, definitely a showpiece. I think one of the most perfect arcade experiences, right, brought to a home console. So, really, really cool pick there. Yeah, for sure.
Oh, and also, I mean, there seems to be still fairly abundant in at least some of the arcades I've been to here in the UK. So like multiple NQ64s have it. So I don't know, if you get a chance to play the arcade version, if you never have, I highly recommend that too. It's a blast. That's how I originally got into it. So great game.
Hey.
Classic.
Okay, yeah.
Let's make some crazy money.
Are you ready? And then yeah. So that's why we really need the soundtrack. Anyway, Showpieces. Thank you very much, guys, for your picks. That that's it for the first part of our Dreamcast Starter Pack special. Come back next week for the second half. As a quick reminder, visual and audio reminder, the games we picked so far are As Modern Gateways, Intrepid Izzy, Red Hero Number 1, and Headhunter. As exclusives, D2, Toy Commander, and Metropolis Street Racer, and as showpieces, Crazy Taxi, Seaman, and Shenmue. So next week, we'll talk about multiplayer games, personal favorites, and we'll take a look at some honorable mentions as well. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next week with part 2 of our Dreamcast Starter Pack. Thanks for listening or watching. Bye-bye! The Sega Lounge, hosted by me, KC, a Mixout Productions podcast and part of Radio Sega's network of live shows and podcasts. Theme song and incidental music by OSC. Got any suggestions? Drop me an email to podcast@thesegalounge.com. Find us at thesegalounge.com on Blue Sky. Check out our YouTube channel for our video content and follow us on Twitch to join our Let's Play sessions and live episodes. You can find previous episodes of the show by going to thesegalounge.com, on the TerraPlayer app, and wherever you listen to podcasts.